On Christmas Day, Matteo Giu specially turned down his work to accompany me. I happily bustle around in the kitchen, preparing meals that he loves, but when I walked out of the kitchen with the dishes, I heard him speaking in German on the phone. "My dear, I can't come to see you today. I will go there early tomorrow morning." There was a woman's voice on the other end of the phone, also speaking coquettishly in German. "Aren't you worried that Sister Sue might hear it?" Matteo Giu sighs. How could a housewife like her, who only knows how to do housework, understand? "Don't worry, I'll bring the baby to you after she gives birth." The plate in my hand fell to the ground with a loud bang. He hung up the phone in a hurry and ran over to ask me what was wrong. "What's the cruelest thing done to you in the name of love? Tell me below." First, the heart breaks, then, karma breaks them. Who decided that being kind meant being silent? I held back my tears and shook my head. "It's okay. I just felt a little dizzy all of a sudden." He carried me back to the bedroom with heartache and stayed by my side all night. I stayed awake all night, and with trembling hands I made an appointment for an abortion the next day. He probably forgot that when I went abroad for an exchange program in college, I went to Germany. When the message of successful appointment popped up, Matteo Giu just woke up. He wanted to kiss my cheek as usual, but I moved aside. Matteo Giu paused slightly. His eyes fell on the lit mobile phone beside the pillow, and his brows furrowed slightly. "Look at your phone less in the future. It's not good for your children." I smiled bitterly, nodded, and silently closed the hospital's appointment page. He didn't notice anything unusual about me. He glanced at his watch and the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Soon he was dressed and talking to himself. "Sophia, the company has an important social event today, so you don't have to wait for me tonight." After saying that, he left home without looking back. In the past, if he went out for social events, I would always get up early to prepare breakfast for him and remind him not to drink too much. I have always been emotionally troubled by his actions, and have no peace of mind every day, but now I just lay quietly in bed, his words from last night echoing in my mind. It turns out that the happy life I thought I had was just a lie, and the person who wove this lie was the man who once said he would love me forever. I reluctantly searched Lyra Zhou's Weibo, and sure enough, I saw countless photos of her and Matteo Giu. For 3 whole years, all his so-called business trips were to go to Germany to see her. I was attracted by a comment and held my breath after clicking on the homepage. In those videos, it was the first time I saw Matteo Giu smile so genuinely. In the video, he caressed the girl's hair in his arms lovingly and said gently that they would spend the rest of their lives together. My phone vibrated twice. It was a message from Matteo Giu, reminding me to eat on time. If it were in the past, I would have been delighted by his words of concern, but now I can't help but think that he probably just remembered me. After having some intimate time with Lyra Zhou, thinking that I was still pregnant, I couldn't help but reply with a short message, as if to verify my guess. Lyra Zhou updated her status. In the photo, the man who said he was going to a social event was squatting in front of the Christmas tree hanging cute decorations, with ambiguous marks on his neck. Mr. Gu said he would give me a Christmas tree that is unique in the world. I can feel his tenderness and doting even through the screen, but on the day before Christmas, when I asked for a Christmas tree, he refused coldly. "How old are you? You still want to learn to play these things like little girls? You'd better sign up for a prenatal education class. If you have too much free time." Matteo Giu has always been a person who doesn't understand romance, and I have become accustomed to his coldness towards me, but at this moment, this photo is like a sharp knife, piercing my heart. I finally understood that it's not that he doesn't understand romance, but that he has never been sincere to me. But I don't understand. If you don't love me anymore, why do you continue acting? As my emotions fluctuated violently, my lower abdomen began to ache slightly. I stroked my belly gently and apologized to the unborn child over and over. In my heart, now that I know this is a mistake, how can I let it continue? Once we arrived at the hospital, the procedures were completed quickly. I lay quietly on the operating table, letting the cold liquid flow into my body. Tears fell uncontrollably and my consciousness gradually became blurred. When I woke up again, the nurse was removing the needle for me. When she saw me moving, she quickly helped me up. "You young people really don't take your bodies seriously. Last Christmas I saw your husband come with you to do IVF. I thought you guys finally got what you wanted during the pregnancy checkup last month. So why are you asking for an abortion again now?" I looked at her in shock, almost speechless. The younger nurse at the side winked at her colleague and tried to smooth things over with a dry laugh. "She has a bad memory and recognized the wrong person." After saying that, he hurriedly pulled her out of the ward. They could still vaguely hear the two of them arguing in low voices. "What are you pulling? I'm not mistaken. It's that man." I was shaking so much that I could barely hold the phone. "Mateo Gu and I decided to do IVF 3 months ago. How come it was last Christmas?" Trembling, I clicked on Lyra Zhous Weibo and came across the post from last Christmas. The place of publication was indeed this hospital. "I have always wanted a baby, but my body does not allow it. I wanted to try IVF, but when Mr. Gu heard the doctor say there were risks, he firmly opposed it." I really don't know what to say. The comments section was full of praise for Mateo Gu being a caring and good husband. As I watched, I suddenly laughed, and my cheeks were cold and stinging from my tears. The image of him the day he found out I was pregnant came to my mind. He kissed my forehead excitedly and said he would be the best father in the world. He said we would be together forever and never be apart, for the rest of our lives. Mateo Gu, who is usually taciturn, talked to me all night about his expectations for the future. That was the happiest day of my life, and I believed what he said about a lifetime. But now I understand that the reason why he was happy was not because we had a child, but because I no longer had to go through the pain of test tube fertilization. His love, from beginning to end, was given to another person. I couldn't help but ask him, who was he thinking of when he said, a lifetime? The phone vibrated. It was a voice message from him. I forced myself to suppress my emotions and clicked on it, only to hear him say that he had an engagement too late tonight, and would not be back, but would be back early tomorrow morning. There was a faint female voice in the background, but I could hear it clearly. It was Lyra Zhou's voice. Almost at the same time, she updated her Weibo with a photo of the two of them. She sat on the sofa like a princess, while Mateo Gu squatted on the ground and kissed the back of her feet devoutly, with a tenderness in his eyes that I had never seen before. "If you don't obey, you will be punished by having Mr. Gu massage my feet." She wrote the post in a coquettish manner and Mateo Gu liked it immediately. I couldn't control my emotions anymore and cried loudly under the quilt. In a trance, I was back to our first Christmas together. He finished work early that day and waited for me outside the airport. In the heavy snow, he looked at me tenderly. That's what I saw when I walked out of the terminal. He walked towards me firmly and took the luggage from my hands. At that time, I thought to myself that Mateo Gu and I would grow old together. But all this peace was completely broken after Lyra Zhou appeared. She was a student that Mateo Gu and I sponsored together before we got married. At that time, Mateo Gu said to me, "She also learned German. It reminded me of you speaking German at the exchange meeting." It felt familiar. It was the second Christmas that Mateo Gu and I were together, and we got married shortly after we decided to sponsor her. From then on, every Christmas there were 3 of us. Mateo Gu said that she was a little girl with no one to rely on in Beijing, so he took her with him during all the holidays. Later, the family even reserved a room for her, and she became Mateo Gu's inseparable little follower. He even secretly brought her to the company's annual meeting without telling me. It was not until she was asked to drop out, because she failed too many courses, that I proposed to terminate her funding. Mateo Gu had a huge argument with me over this and I fainted from excitement. When I woke up, he was kneeling beside my bed, apologizing continuously and saying he was wrong. It was also on that day that I found out I was pregnant. Only then did he stop supporting Lyra Zhou and quit his translation job on my behalf. I had imagined that there would be arguments and disagreements after marriage, but I never thought that he would betray me. I wiped my tears, took off the ring on my ring finger and threw it into the trash can. "Mateo Gu, since you broke your oath, I won't wait for you to come back." After completing the discharge procedures, I returned home alone. After lying in bed for a long time, I finally mustered up the courage to call my supervisor. "Sister Lu, are there any vacancies for translation positions in the company?" There was silence on the other end of the phone for a long time, before he reluctantly spoke. "The translation position, Mr. Gu has arranged for Miss Zhou to take over. I don't know the details." I tried to force a smile, thanked him and hung up the phone. As soon as the phone screen went dark, Mateo Gu pushed the door open wearily. He lowered his head and scrolled through his phone. The corners of his mouth raised inadvertently, but as soon as he turned around and saw me, his smile quickly disappeared. "Why don't you rest?" There was a hint of doubt in his tone and a hint of annoyance in his eyes. I sat on the sofa in the living room and asked calmly, "The company's new translator's surname is Zhou. Is he someone we know?" Mateo Gu was slightly startled. Then he touched his nose as if nothing had happened. "The student you introduced before wasn't very capable, so I recruited a new one. I didn't even notice his last name. Sophia, you should also rest early. It's my fault for being so busy with social events recently, but everything I do is to give you and your children a better life. I suppressed the sneer in my heart and lay back on the bed silently. Mateo Gu came closer, and a familiar scent of perfume wafted from his body. Go to bed early. I'm really tired today. I finally understood that this man whom I had loved for 8 years could lie so confidently. From Lyra Zhou in the middle of the night, carrying her scent, but told me it was for our own good. For the first time, I saw through his hypocrisy. He reached out to hold me in his arms, but I suddenly stood up and rushed into the bathroom, retching. It wasn't until my eyes turned red and my stomach ached that I finally came to my senses. Mateo Gu thought it was morning sickness and he helped me to smooth my back out of concern. I avoided his hand and turned on the air purifier. The baby is too naughty. You must discipline him well after he is born. I smiled with difficulty and said nothing. Mateo Gu seemed to notice that something was wrong with me, and the next day he stayed at home to work for the first time, and did not go out for socializing. But whenever he gets near me, I can't help but feel nauseous. The continuous vomiting made me pale and weak. He nervously wanted to take me to the hospital, but I shook my head gently. No, I've had enough of this fake care. Mateo Gu was stunned for a moment, his brows slightly furrowed, and a hint of impatience appeared in his tone. He was about to say something when his cell phone suddenly rang. A familiar German voice came from the receiver. Brother Mateo, do you want to try something exciting? I'll be waiting for you in the car. Mateo Gu put down his phone and looked a little more relaxed, but when he looked at me there was a hint of evasion in his eyes. Sophia, something urgent happened at the company. Is it okay for you to stay at home alone? Don't worry too much. I'll be back soon. A sneer appeared on the corner of my mouth, but my tone remained calm. It's okay. I believe you. I forced a pale smile and turned to walk into the bedroom. He left home so impatiently that he didn't even notice his cell phone left on the coffee table. I picked up his phone and the caller ID was still on. Although there was no note, I recognized it as Lyra Zhou's number at a glance. I answered the phone with a sneer, and immediately heard an ambiguous collision sound in my ears. Lyra Zhou asked delicately, "Didn't Sister Sue let you have fun?" Mateo Gu's deep laughter came. "How can she compare to you?" Following a lingering chuckle, my heart seemed to be cut by a sharp blade. I silently saved the call recording on my phone and walked back to the bedroom. I was just about to take a break when Mateo Gu came back. He came closer to me, carefully took my hand, and still smelled of perfume. I pulled my hand back in disgust, but he stared at the empty space on my ring finger and frowned. "Sophia, where's the ring?" I rubbed the fingers he had touched and said lightly, "I took it off last time when I had my treatment and forgot to put it on. It's just a ring. You don't wear it very often." Mateo Gu's face changed and he was speechless for a moment. There is no wedding ceremony or wedding photos, only this ring that symbolizes marriage, but he never wanted to wear it, saying he was afraid of what others would say about me. Now I understand that he was not afraid of being talked about by others, but was just afraid of affecting his relationship with Lyra Zhou. He was silent for a moment, then spoke in a low voice. "It's my fault. I will keep wearing it from now on unless you take it off yourself. Let's hold a wedding at the end of the month before the baby shows up. I want to reveal your identity to everyone so that you don't have any wild thoughts." I knew that this was just the guilt he felt after having an affair, and I felt a little irritated, but he thought I was touched and took me into his arms. It wasn't until midnight that I heard him quietly walk out of the bedroom and go to the living room. I looked through the crack in the door and saw him whispering to someone on the phone. I just wanted to keep her calm. After all, she's pregnant with our child. "Don't be angry. I'll be there in a moment." "Okay." Every word felt like a needle piercing my heart. It turned out that the child I tried so hard to protect was just a bargaining chip in his eyes. I returned to my bed in a daze, opened my phone and booked a flight to Germany at the end of the month. When he came back, he gently stroked my belly and his tone was incredibly gentle. "Sophia, I have something else to do at the company. You and the baby should wait for me at home." The moment the door closed, I slowly opened my eyes. Mateo Gu, just wait for that so-called wedding and the surprise I prepare for you. After that day, Mateo Gu continued to go out early and come back late, as if nothing had happened. Lyra Zhou's Weibo is constantly updated, showing their sweet daily life together. Every photo is like a slap in the face to me, and I quietly arranged everything, just waiting for the wedding to come. 2 days before the wedding, Lyra Zhou couldn't wait any longer and came to the door. "Long time no see, Sister Sue." When I opened the door, I saw her standing there proudly with a victorious smile on her lips. She strode in, looked around the living room like a hostess, and then snorted coldly, "When you drove me away, did you ever think about today? Are you talking about the days when you were a mistress?" I sneered. Lyra Zhou's face darkened and her voice became sharp. "Just wait. Not only will your man be mine, but your child will also call me mommy. Everything you have will become mine." She grabbed my arm so hard her nails almost dug into the flesh. I subconsciously tried to push her away, but the door behind me was suddenly pushed open. It's Mateo Giu who was back. I took a half step back, but he didn't even look at me and walked straight to Lyra Zhou. "Lyra." He protected her behind him and turned to look at me coldly. "Su Sophia, why are you still so unreasonable? Lyra has gone into hiding abroad, and you're still chasing her." After saying that, he slammed the door shut, leaving me standing alone in the cold living room. It was obviously me who was injured and pregnant, but he only had eyes for her. I have also had this kind of favoritism. When I was in college, my adoptive mother forced me to drop out and go home to get married, in exchange for a dowry. It was Mateo Giu who stood in front of me, shielding me from everything and telling me he was there. He spent 2 years helping me break free from my adoptive mother's control, but it only took him 2 months to give his heart to someone else. He once said he would give me happiness, but now there is only indifference and betrayal. He is no longer the Mateo Giu who protects me from the wind and rain, and I no longer need his love. 2 days before the wedding, Mateo Giu returned home. He looked calm, as if what happened that day had never happened. "Sophia, stop looking at your phone and try on the ring size." "Okay." He took out an exquisite box and motioned for me to put it on. I opened the lid and took a look, then closed it without taking anything out. "If it's suitable, take it." He frowned, his tone a little impatient. "Lyra and me, can you please not be so hostile to a little girl like her?" I pointed to the inside of the ring and said calmly, "You got it wrong. It's spelled Lyra Zhou." As soon as I finished speaking, Mateo Giu's expression changed instantly. I didn't give him a chance to explain and turned back to the bedroom. When he came in again, there was a hint of regret in his eyes. He hugged me tightly from behind, as if he wanted to melt me into his body. "Sophia, I was wrong. Let's live happily ever after. Do you still remember our wish when we graduated?" He whispered in my ear, but I couldn't hear anything. "That year we made a wish on Christmas Eve, saying that we would be together year after year. This year, he made the same vow with another woman." "Mateo Giu, how long are you going to perform?" My vision blurred and I gradually fell into a dream. The day before the wedding, Mateo Giu got up early in the morning to cook porridge, and the living room was full of baby supplies. He walked up to me with the porridge in his hands. His eyes were incredibly gentle. "Eat some porridge to warm your stomach. I bought a lot of clothes for the baby. Do you like them when you take a look?" I nodded, but my eyes fell on my flat belly. Mateo Giu was completely unaware and spent the entire day painting pictures of the future beside me. There was thunder and lightning outside the window at night and heavy rain. He flipped through his phone irritably until a familiar ringtone sounded. He couldn't sit still any longer, so he picked up the key and was about to go out. "Sophia, I will arrange for a driver to pick you up tomorrow. I have to go over to the company for something urgent." Before he finished speaking, he left in a hurry. I neither tried to stop him nor did I stop him. I took out the luggage that I had packed long ago and walked out of the house. The taxi started slowly, and Mateo Giu's car just came from the opposite direction and passed by me. As long as he looks back, he can see me carrying my luggage, but he didn't. I wiped the moisture from the corners of my eyes, and gently closed the car window. "Master, let's go to the airport." "Mateo Giu, I gave you too many chances, but you just refused to look back. From now on, we are done with each other and owe nothing to each other." 15 hours later, the plane slowly landed. As a visiting teacher, I returned to the German university where I had studied as an exchange student. The school has made all the arrangements for me and I just need to pack my bags and move in. Lying in the cozy teacher's apartment, putting on a new phone card, I finally felt free from the heavy shackles. Judging from the time, Mateo Giu and Lyra Zhou should have received the wedding gift I carefully prepared. I opened my phone and saw the hot search term. Gu's president's wedding scene went wrong. When I clicked on it, there was a video. Mateo Giu was standing in the crowd wearing a black suit, looking anxiously at the car that was going to pick me up, but the moment the car door opened, his expression changed instantly. The person who came down was not me, but Lyra Zhou. She was wearing the wedding dress that was supposed to be worn by me, and she walked towards him with a smug look on her face. Mateo Giu looked at her in shock. Before he could say anything, a video automatically started playing on the big screen behind him. It is a collection of photos edited by me, a total of 1,000 photos, recording his secret past with Lyra Zhou over the years. The crowd of onlookers cast envious glances at them, except Mateo Giu, who looked pale. After the video was played, netizens quickly dug out Lyra Zhou's true identity and past dark history. Countless people came forward to expose her shameful past, and Mateo Giu was also caught in a public opinion storm for concealing her marital history and deceiving the public image. I exited Weibo and opened the monitoring software at home. Mateo Giu really found the wedding gift I left for him, an abortion report and a divorce agreement that had already been signed. In the picture, he was clutching the documents tightly, his eyes were red and his lips were trembling. Finally, he collapsed on the ground as if all his strength had been drained away, shouting my name over and over again, without taking another look at it. I decisively turned off the monitoring and uninstalled all related software. After returning to school, I quickly adjusted myself. In addition to my daily teaching, I also started traveling to places that I had always wanted to visit, but had not been able to. In the past, I poured all my energy into Mateo Giu, and turned myself into a shrew, a housewife who, in his words, only knew how to do laundry and cook. But I was also that innocent girl who loved German, and I also shined in the field I was good at. It's just that he never really appreciated it. Mateo Giu is gone. I finally understand. Loving yourself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. After gradually adapting to the work rhythm, I met my former senior Sihan again. When we met again in a foreign country, we quickly became friends who could talk about anything. We went rock climbing, skiing, and sightseeing together, and I felt more relaxed and comfortable with him than ever before. With his recommendation, I joined an international translation company and participated in multiple multinational projects. This time, the person in charge of the project turned out to be Sister Lu. I stared at her in shock for a few seconds before I reacted. Sister Lu, long time no see. She was also stunned, and then pulled me to sit down with surprise. Sophia, I didn't expect to see you here. I told her about my experience after leaving Gu's company with a smile, and she sighed repeatedly after listening to me. You were right to leave. The current Gu company is no longer what it used to be. Mr. Gu seemed like a different person after the wedding. He disappeared for a month, and then when he came back, he invested madly in jewelry design, saying it was to commemorate his Ian. The shareholders are almost in chaos, saying that Mr. Gu is possessed by a ghost. I listened quietly, without any ripples in my heart. Sister Lu said a few more words before leaving. I sorted out the materials and prepared to go off work. Today is Christmas. The streets are decorated with lights and are very bustling. I slowly walked back to the apartment, and just as I was about to open the door, I saw a small box on the floor. I picked it up doubtfully, and suddenly a familiar and trembling voice sounded behind me. Ian, I finally found you. I turned around slowly and saw the dusty Mateo Giu standing in the snow. It was snowing heavily, but he was sweating all over, breathing rapidly, and his eyes were fixed on me, as if he was afraid that I would disappear in the next second. I subconsciously wanted to close the door, but he stopped me first. He suddenly pulled me into his arms, and held me tightly with both hands, as if he wanted to rub me into his bones and blood. Ian, Ian, his voice was trembling and contained suppressed tears. Ah Yen, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please don't do this to me. I can't live without you anymore. Warm tears slid down my neck, but I only felt disgusted and turned my head away. I don't understand. He was the one who betrayed me, so why is he pretending to be a victim now? Is it true that we only regret after we lose something? Let go. My tone was icy. Mateo Giu didn't move, still holding me tightly. I finally couldn't help but yell, "Let me go." His body stiffened and he hesitated for a long time, before reluctantly letting go of her hand. His eyes were red and he looked at me cautiously. Sophia, I have realized my mistake and I swear I will never contact Lyra Zhou again. I'll listen to whatever you say, and I'll redo the wedding the way you like. Okay, I don't blame you for the child. We are still young and we can have another one in the future. Come back with me, Sophia. I took a step back in disgust, putting some distance between me and him. Mateo Giu, did you see what I left for you? I want to divorce you. His face turned pale instantly, and his whole body swayed, almost unable to stand. What divorce? Are you kidding me? How can we get divorced? How can we just end our 8-year relationship like that? You must be dissatisfied with the wedding I arranged. It's my fault. My aesthetic taste is not as good as yours. When you come back, we can do it again. Everything will be done according to your preferences. He muttered to himself, his eyes dazed, as if he was trapped in a dream from which he did not want to wake up. I interrupted him coldly. Matteo Giu, you are a cheater. What qualifications do you have to mention an 8-year relationship? His pupils suddenly shrank and a trace of panic flashed across his face. After a long silence, he stammered and explained, "It's not like that. I'm just obsessed. But you're the one I've always loved. I never thought we would separate. I thought after the wedding, we would live happily with a home and children like before." I sneered, and said sarcastically, "Matteo Giu, is your so-called happiness to betray me again and again? Are you very proud of me seeing me foolishly loving you and being unable to sleep at night because of your pregnancy?" His face became paler, and struggle and pain appeared in his eyes. I know you're working hard, but if I don't take care of the company's affairs, how can I give you and your child a better future? Sophia, I feel bad too. I clenched my fists and felt sick. He says he loves me, but he's still making excuses for his betrayal, pretending to be affectionate here. Is it true what you said about socializing? You and Lyra Zhou's couple account have been interacting for 3 years, without missing a single day. You said you would spend Christmas with me every year, but in reality, you would rush over overnight as soon as she called. You accompanied her to so many places and took countless photos in the past 3 years, but you refused to take even a wedding photo when we got married. Last Christmas, you accompanied her to do IVF and you were so distressed that you stopped her. What about me? What am I in your eyes? A tool for you to bear children, or a stumbling block to your love? He looked at me in shock, his face full of disbelief. I forced a smile. The test tube child is yours and Lyra Zhou's. Do you really think I don't know? Matteo Giu, I'm not stupid. Sophia, Matteo Giu's voice trembled, his face grew paler, his lips moved, but he couldn't utter a word. The snow fell heavier and heavier, fluttering down on the ends of his hair, as if covering him with a heavy layer of frost. Do you remember what you said to me on our first Christmas together? I looked into his empty eyes, as if he had forgotten that night. I chuckled and shook my head in self-mockery. That Christmas, he spent all his savings to book a couple's restaurant. I don't believe in love that lasts a lifetime, but when he appeared in front of me with flowers in his hands, I really began to fantasize about our future. He has always been a true straight man. I was attracted by his down-to-earth feeling, but I never thought that we would get married. But that day, he knelt before me devoutly, his voice as firm as a vow. "Ian, please believe me. As long as I am alive, I will only love you. If one day I change my heart, let God punish me." 8 years have passed, and he is still alive, but he has long forgotten what he said. He raised his eyes, a hint of regret flashing in them. I remembered something, and my tone suddenly became more relaxed. "Fortunately, you insisted on not having a wedding. Now, except for you and Lyra Zhou, no one knows about our marriage. Otherwise, this scene will be difficult to end." Matteo Giu looked at me in shock, as if he couldn't believe that I would say such a thing. "Sophia, what makes you think that? I didn't have a wedding then because my company was just starting out, and I was too busy. Now I can give you the best of everything. Come back with me now, and I'll arrange the wedding right away. It's just one ceremony, right? You can hold as many ceremonies as you want." I impatiently tried to push him aside and go in, but he grabbed my wrist. "Sophia, come back with me. You are unfamiliar with this place, and I am worried about you." I couldn't help but laugh, my eyes full of sarcasm. "Unfamiliar with the place? Matteo Giu, have you forgotten that I spent 3 whole years in Germany? You think I don't understand you and Lyra Zhou speaking German on Christmas Day?" His pupils suddenly shrank and his face was full of shock. I lied to her. Those words were not true. I just said that because I was afraid that she would go to you to cause trouble. I shook off his hand and asked coldly, "So what is real? Your fake love?" He was speechless and stood there like a body without a soul. I wanted to leave, but he suddenly said, "But Sophia, we've been together for so long, and you were pregnant with my child. Who else would want you except me?" My hand holding the door handle paused, and I slowly turned around to look at him. The face that I once loved so much now seems like a stranger. When he saw me looking back, a glimmer of hope appeared in his eyes, and his tone was gentle. "If you behave yourself, we can still live a good life. I won't abandon you." He smiled, but I just felt a chill to my bones. I suppressed my disgust and was about to expose his disguise, but a deep male voice came from behind me. "What do you want from my girlfriend?" I turned around and saw Si-Han coming towards me and protecting me behind him. "I've called the police. Sophia, I'm here, and she never needs to rely on anyone. She is an independent and outstanding woman. Mateo Giu's face turned pale and he stared at Seihan as if he wanted to stare him through. I'm Sophia's husband. Who are you? Seihan sneered, his tone calm but with a sense of oppression. Husband? Sorry, I've already contacted a divorce lawyer for Sophia. What you did is enough to get divorced 10 times. Mateo Giu was furious, clenched his fists, and was about to rush forward, but before he could get close, the police arrived, restrained him and took him away. Seihan smiled at me soothingly and stayed with me, until I finished dealing with the matter before coming back. I sat on the swing outside the door, swaying back and forth, cigarette butts flickering at my fingertips. My phone kept vibrating, and I clicked on it and saw a message from an unfamiliar number in China. Sophia, do you think you won? I'm pregnant with Mateo's baby. I scoffed and turned off my phone. How pitiful. She sacrificed her life for a hypocritical man. I took out the small red box from my pocket, opened it gently, and the ring lay quietly inside. The plain white ring has a faint mark engraved on the inside. That is the initials of my name engraved by my own hands. Today, it is no longer anyone's promise. Mateo Giu's company first started. We had nothing and couldn't even raise 2,000 yuan. But that year's Christmas was the happiest day of my life. He spent a full half-month polishing this silver ring by hand. The workmanship is so crude that it can be seen at a glance, and our initials are engraved crookedly on the inner circle. But I loved it so much that I even felt that the expensive diamond ring he gave me when he proposed to me was not as good as this simple silver ring. Before leaving, I threw it in the trash. I thought that was the end, but I didn't expect him to dig it out and keep it with him. The moment I saw it again, I began to wonder, it's just a ring, how can I dare to give my life to him? The snow gradually stopped. Seihan handed over a bottle of warm milk and sat down on another swing. Thank you, he smiled and joked. In the end, I took advantage of you by saying you were my girlfriend. I shook my head and chuckled, not denying it. He said that to help me get rid of Mateo Giu, but the thing about hiring a lawyer was real. Now I can no longer accept that I am still Mateo Giu's wife. With the help of a lawyer, the divorce procedures went smoothly. Mateo Giu has not appeared for a long time because of Lyra Zhou's pregnancy. It wasn't until I returned to China to complete the final steps that he finally showed up. In front of the Civil Affairs Bureau, his face was full of fatigue. In just 1 month, he seemed to have aged 10 years. Sophia, can you give me a little more time? I'll take care of everything. There was a pleading look in his eyes. I walked past him indifferently, speaking in an unnaturally calm tone. Don't make me hate you too much. His face turned pale and he finally just smiled bitterly. When I turned to leave, Lyra Zhou was already waiting at the door. She looked at me smugly and said sarcastically, Sister Sue, when Mateo and I's baby is born, you must come and see it. If you hadn't let go, the baby would be left without a father. Mateo Giu frowned and shouted angrily, Lyra, didn't I tell you to stay at home? You're already divorced. Why do you still care so much about her? She questioned dissatisfiedly, her tone full of unwillingness. I ignored their quarrel and prepared to leave when I saw Seihan driving over. Sophia, Mateo Giu called me hesitantly. Lyra Zhou's sharp voice came from behind, and suddenly a scream rang out. Lyra Zhou, who was standing on the stairs, had somehow fallen down. Blood gushed out from under her. Her face turned pale and she kept calling for help. Mateo Giu rushed over suddenly and the scene was in chaos. Seihan came over quickly, took my hand and got into the car. The moment the car window rolled up, I came to my senses. He didn't ask anything, but just silently paid attention to my emotions. The day I returned to Germany, I felt like I had finally unloaded all my burdens and breathed a sigh of relief. I thought that Mateo Giu and I would never have any contact again, but Sister Lu suddenly sent me 2 videos. In a video, Lyra Zhou was sitting in a pool of blood, staring at me with resentment. In another video, she was no longer as proud as before, but was slumped with disheveled hair at the door of Goose Company. She kept shouting Mateo Giu's name, saying that he must be responsible for her, otherwise she would sue me and him. The video quickly went viral on the internet, causing an uproar in public opinion. Some people started digging into my background, trying to find out my relationship with Mateo Giu. I was looking at my phone with a frown on my face, feeling extremely annoyed, when Seihan came over and took my phone away without saying anything. You'll have a day off starting tomorrow, and we'll go hiking. Before I could even open my mouth, he had already packed everything. When we climbed to the top of the mountain together, and overlooked the vast snow-capped mountains in front of us, my mind suddenly became clear. There is nothing wrong in loving someone. What is wrong is that person is not loyal. I finally let it go. When I returned to the company, the storm had subsided, but the landlord suddenly called and said that someone had been sitting at my door for 3 days. I rushed back immediately and saw Matteo Giu squatting dejectedly at the door from a distance. The ground was littered with cigarette butts. He raised his head when he heard footsteps, and stood up in panic when he saw me. Sophia, I frowned. What else do you want? He said anxiously. The Lyra Zhou incident didn't affect you, did it? I didn't expect her to become like this. Don't worry, I've already dealt with her and won't bother you anymore. I looked at him coldly. But isn't it you who caused all this? Without you, nothing would have happened. After saying that, I stopped looking at him, turned into the house and locked him out. After that day, Matteo Giu frequently appeared near my house. Every day after get off work, there would always be something inexplicably appearing at the door. Flowers, handmade jewelry, handwritten letters. I threw them all into the trash without exception. Another Christmas is coming, and Si-han invites me to dinner. I changed into new clothes and prepared to go out, then stood at the street corner waiting for him. But I didn't wait for Si-han, but waited for Lyra Zhou. The streets were empty and the sound of screeching brakes suddenly rang out. I barely had time to react. I saw her step on the accelerator with a frantic look on her face, and rush towards me. Sophia, go to hell. The car lights were blinding, and at the critical moment, a figure suddenly pushed me away. I fell heavily to the ground. My eyes turned red and my consciousness gradually blurred. When I woke up again, I was lying on a hospital bed. When Si-han saw me open my eyes, he immediately called a doctor. He breathed a sigh of relief after confirming that I was fine. After the doctor left, he looked at me hesitantly, as if he wanted to say something. I said calmly, "How are they?" Si-han was silent for a moment, then answered in a low voice. Matteo Giu died on the spot and Lyra Zhou could not be saved. I closed my eyes and the last scene appeared in my mind. I'm sorry. Those were the last words Matteo Giu said before he closed his eyes. He swore an oath to heaven 8 years ago, and now he finally paid the price for his betrayal. On the day I was discharged from the hospital, Si-han covered my eyes mysteriously. What? I nervously grabbed his arm. Surprise, he said, letting go of her hand, his eyes full of anticipation. I opened my eyes and was stunned. The living room was filled with red roses, and in the center was a Christmas tree that was as tall as a person, hung with gift boxes. I turned around and saw him kneeling on one knee. He held my hands in his and kissed them devoutly. Sophia, let me love you from now on. Okay. My eyes were wet and I nodded without hesitation. Good. This Christmas, I welcomed a new life and true love. If you've ever had to silence your own voice to keep the peace, or dim your light so others could feel bright, let me know in the comments that you're done playing small. Your truth has a right to take up space, and their karma is long overdue. Subscribe to Red Karma for more stories of unapologetic power. It's your turn to write the ending.